Ashland has always had big ambitions. Subways for Birch Heights, an airport for travelers, and a city strong enough to crush Mendon. But none of that happens without growth. Subways need riders, airports need travelers, and big projects need tax revenue. And right now, empty land is slowing us down. So today, we're taking the land between Birch Heights and Pinewood and turning it into a dense, mid-rise apartment neighborhood with a big park fronting the water. Let's jump in. Welcome back to Ashland, and I think we're going to get started on a few different things in this episode, but really, the first thing I want to focus on is Ravenrock End. We kind of need to transition from our higher density over here to maybe some medium density down to our low density, and this building still isn't working. I don't know why, but yeah, it's not working. So I think we're going to have to either replace this building or force it to work using the ploppable service blocks. We could always do that, but I don't know, it kind of feels a bit cheesy to me. I really like this idea of this building being here, but I think for now, I'm actually just going to say goodbye to it. And I was thinking we could either have like one really big building, or we could have a few small buildings and kind of just stack them around this area. Maybe not, maybe we'll just do the front side. Okay, and after going back and forth between a few different ideas, I remembered what I really wanted this to be. Simple, maybe one or two buildings at most. I don't really want it to be too wide, and I don't want this to be some grand, massive kind of lot. This is on a hill that's on a retaining wall. One or two buildings should kind of be the max. And I think with that in mind, I'm just going to place one of these here, one of these right there. I'll go over to the exact same building, which is right here, and then just steal the color. And actually, I kind of like that. I'm not going to do it, but I kind of like it. And then as always, I really don't like how white and blinding these roofs are. And I'm hoping we can maybe use one of these just to make it not so obnoxious and in your face. And I think if I ignore a bit of perfection, I can pretty much be happy with that. It's not amazing, but honestly, really just anything to not have these roofs blind me. And looking back here, there's a bit of work that needs to be done, but I think overall it should be fine. We'll get rid of these hedges, and in the meantime, we're just going to add a bunch of trees back here. So now that should be up and running. We should get people here soon. They'll have a place to park. The roofs won't drive me crazy. All right, so now with this fixed, I think we'll move over to this lot right here because it's just looking a little too empty. And I think for the meantime, we're just going to grab some low density commercial, maybe a bit of office as well, and we'll just get that zoned in. So I'm removing the zoning from the parking lot and these two side roads. That way all of our zoning is fronting this street right here. And I believe there's a tram stop somewhere near here as well, so it's a pretty good place for commercial and office. And we're just going to do a mix of northeast, southwest, and just maybe plain old North American. And for now, we're just going to do something like that. Then we have this little plot of land right here. And honestly, it seems kind of ripe for a park. And I think I'll have the park front this area right here. And we'll just go with the basic plaza, because I don't think it needs to really be any more than this. But I'll get rid of those fences, and we'll connect these paths into other places as well. I think maybe even one from right here to the bus stop. And there we go. There's that little park area filled out. And we have our little church right here. And wow, look at the traffic. It's insane. Wow, it's actually a lot worse than I would have expected it to be. And if I'm thinking about it, it's because now we have a bunch of traffic filtering through here instead of all of it just coming through here, which means this junction or intersection right here is getting a lot more traffic than it usually would. And I think this will obviously be a stop. Same with this. We'll set this as the priority, and this is the priority as well. And I'm hoping this does a little bit of fixing, but if it doesn't, what we'll have to do is make this a light. And of course, things are despawning. That's no fun. Why does it have to despawn? Yeah, and things keep despawning, which makes managing traffic a bit more difficult. I'm only just now noticing that there's lights here, so let's remove them. I don't think we need lights for these roads. This is our main arterial, and these are just connecting roads into here. Let's actually take a look to see where these people are going. So this person is getting onto the highway to go down here, and then they're gonna turn, and oh, they just wanna go to the sports park. That's pretty cool. You love to see it. And then this oil truck, where are they going? So they just wanna get on the highway. Oh, they're going to drop it off. Okay, that's pretty cool. So then I think what we need to do is give a chance to get off of this road right here and onto the highway. If I can, I want to make sure I'm bulldozing as little as possible and just taking a look at what this would need to be to have that off movement. It would probably need a little bit of space right here, but let's give it a shot before we start assuming. So I'll want to split the node right about here, and then we'll upgrade this to be a 5-lane asymmetric, and we'll have that on this side. Definitely looks a bit rough. Now we'll get rid of our alleyway. We'll grab this point right here, and we'll do a 90-degree angle. We'll come down just a bit more, and then do a nice little movement into there. And I'm wondering, what is the slope on that? I didn't really check, so let's check one more time. So it's negative 11.8%. I know we can do a bit better than that. And there we go. We're really spreading this all the way out throughout this entire area. And yeah, it's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect. It's a bit rough, in fact. But I think it can work. Let's assign this to be that movement. And yeah, you know what? I think this median in the middle just doesn't make sense. And already I think that looks a bit better. Now this is a bit broken, of course. Why wouldn't it be? And although I really don't like the idea of it, we could pull the node back a bit, set this to be more straight, have a left lane to turn into here, and that would allow this to function both ways instead of just one, which I feel like makes the most sense. So for now, we're going to delete that, and we'll send this to go directly in. We'll flip it back around. We'll just move that ever so gently to try and get something that's not so rough. And yeah, that turn is pretty rough. So we should be able to manipulate our nodes and just pull them back a bit. And then we'll also just give this side the 5-lane asymmetric, and we'll put that right about there. So now they both have the turning lane into this road. We don't need the 5-lane asymmetric all the way down. So we're gonna cut this off just a bit, let's say right here. And yeah, it's really not perfect. In fact, it's pretty bad. Just the way it looks for the merge, but I think it should work. Now we'll need to give this 3 lanes. As I'm looking at this is a pretty tight angle. So you're probably gonna be at a much lower speed, which means you're gonna need more time to actually get up to speed. So I think we'll extend this just a bit further. And we'll say something kind of like right here. This gives you a lot more time to get onto the on-ramp, get up to speed, and then merge on. And for now, this is pretty much the movements we're gonna allow right here. And what I'm hoping to see is that more vehicles will travel down this path, which will reduce the clog right here. And for the most part, it doesn't even seem to be that bad anymore. And then next up, we have this little area right here. And I think this is prime opportunity for some development. So I don't plan on developing Honeysuckle Street, so I'm not gonna do any terrain work there, but we will move the terrain from here to right about here. Now I wanna find a few buildings that can go right alongside this road. And I think given our needs, well actually, what are our needs? In taking a look at Birch Heights, the unemployment actually isn't too bad aside from our uneducated. So maybe we wanna do some work there, but I don't really see this area being too heavy on uneducated employment. So what I'm thinking is, well, maybe we'll toss one of these in right here. And I really don't like that yellow, but I kind of like this blue. So let's copy that and paste it there, and it's not actually blue. Okay, we'll do kind of like a dark blue. I think that looks pretty nice. And then I think right here, we'll just throw some more commercial down. So I kept them all 3x3. We have our North American commercial, our European commercial, and then just one Southwestern office. Now it still feels a bit empty, and so I think we're gonna grab our paths and just extend them all the way through for now. We'll try and be mindful of our hill. And then we have this little lot right here, right beside our parking lot. And given that we're right near the marina, I can see this being pretty valuable land, even though it's kind of on a really busy junction or intersection. And I'm looking at this asset right here thinking maybe this is the one. We'll pull that nice and snug to our parking lot, take a look around, and yeah, it's probably a bit too close, so we'll pull that back in. And to give this area a bit of life, I changed up some of the surfaces, and I think that looks a lot better. It just makes it feel a bit more, I don't know, like something actually is going on here. And we're just gonna add a few pocket parks on the side. Okay, then I'm not entirely sure, but my game decided to start crashing, so hopefully things are back to normal now. Anyways, let's get a few of these little urban pocket parks down into here as well, because although I don't want actual zoning on here, I think having this would be something that would be really nice. It's pretty much just somewhere you could walk to and grab food, and let's actually pick one that has food. I guess in terms of variations, there isn't all that much, but we could probably go with one like this. And unfortunately, there's not really anything else that will fit except for these smaller ones. So we'll just add in a few of these around. And then I think something like this right here should do. I think this works really well. Maybe, whoa, where'd he come from? Why are they walking? Oh, are they connecting to the paths? Doesn't seem like they are. I don't see the actual connection, but somehow they're walking through. That's definitely a bit interesting. I won't stop it because I find it kind of funny, although I wish it wouldn't happen. I don't think I could stop it even if I wanted to. What I was going to say though is that I think we could probably put a bit of a graffiti here just to make it feel a bit more intimate instead of just a giant white wall. And I don't know where I got this decal from, but I absolutely love it. Feels very kind of old-timey to me. And I think that right there should do the trick. There's something really nice about just making small spaces like this a bit more lifelike, not so depressing. Honestly, this is where an Ashland decal would really come in handy. One of these days I'll make it. All right, and that's kind of a jank implementation of graffiti, but from far away, I think it looks really nice. And honestly, while we're here, we might as well do this one too. And that'll do it for the graffiti for this little parking lot. I think it's definitely a big improvement. And then we just need something right here because this is fronting one of our main roads and it looks off. And honestly, I'm probably gonna go a bit lazy here and I'm just gonna place a few trees down and call it a day. There we go. And of course this park broke. Okay, next up on our list of empty spaces, we have this area right here. And I believe this is a pretty big hill, so I don't think we'll touch this one. But let's take a look and just make sure. Yeah, there's not much we're doing here. And it's kind of the same story right here. This area is very, very hilly. And then right here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch the orientation of this pool and place it here instead. And then we're just gonna set it to be aligned to this height right here. And now that we've moved this, I think if we're lucky, what we can do is take this alleyway. Honestly, is there even a smaller alleyway? I think that's kind of what we'd need. I'm not seeing anything that's smaller. Yeah, no, there isn't. So I think what we can do is we can take this alleyway, pretty much turn almost all of our snapping off, and just get a little bit close to this swimming pool, drop the road right there, and then maybe, if we're lucky, we can find a few buildings to place here. And I'm looking at this residential low rent, and I think it should work. So we'll place that there, and maybe what we'll want to do is give this a little roundabout at the end, pull that back a bit. And yeah, that's okay. I kind of regret this little path right here because I do want to get maybe one or two more buildings alongside here. So maybe I just pull this closer and I'm noticing there's something weird going on here. So this will be a classic case of let's just ignore it. Can we get maybe one or two more buildings on here? Just barely, but I think we can make it work. So we'll set that there. And if I look around, yeah, we have a bit of room on the front. And then maybe just one more building right here. Let's go with a little dark red. Unfortunately, these buildings don't come with any parking whatsoever. And I think maybe, just maybe we could squeeze it in here. Although I'd probably see this for the actual community pool and not these buildings. What about right here? I don't really want to get rid of this path, so I think I'll just place some of Dome's parking alongside here. And then I'll just use Move It to get it all aligned. And then I'll add a nice little concrete surface to it. And then honestly, I think the rest of this area, as usual, will just get filled with some trees and maybe 1 or 2 paths. Next up, we have this area, and it looks like I wanted something to go here. I believe it was a road. I wonder why I didn't do it though. Kind of interesting. Either way though, I think this is kind of meant to be like a sports park area. And to enhance this, what I think we're gonna do is for now, we're just gonna move this somewhere else. Let's say right here. Because I don't really like how it's just on this main road. We're gonna flatten most of this area out to be the same height. Now I think what we're gonna do is we will extend this road right here, but we're not gonna go all the way up. There must have been a reason why I didn't, and I'm gonna trust myself. So I will send it right there. We'll add a little small cul-de-sac with a nice little tree. We'll grab our basketball court again so we can replace it right here. And now we're gonna grab our invisible paths and essentially we'll just connect them in. And then I think just having somewhere nice to sit would be a big plus. And let's give 2 places to sit because why not? And then I'm just going to adjust these surfaces because really we want them to do something entirely different. I'll extend this surface all the way down here and we'll actually add in a walking path. So you don't need to come down this road to walk into this area. And we'll connect directly into this one. And I was thinking about connecting up here, but it is a bit steep and we don't have stairs yet. Now right here, we can easily get a little bit of commercial. And really what I want here is something that feels kind of corner store-like. I don't want it to feel like it's I don't want it to feel like it's anything else other than a corner store. In terms of corner store assets, we're pretty limited on that. It's kind of unfortunate. I'd love to see things that feel just a bit more simple, a little bit more intimate and basic. And then I think we'll get closer to this side of the building and we'll put a path through here as well. If it would snap on, but it doesn't seem to want to. There we go. Oh, whoa, where did that transport truck come from? And what's up with the lag? So we'll branch off from here and go directly into this little street right here. And then I just want to put a fence here just to block off this area. And actually, I think this reminds me, we do have the decals for the basketball court, and I like them a little bit better. And then right here, I think really all we're missing in this area is a bit more residential. Most of it's over here, and this area was kind of centered to be a commercial district. So I think we can definitely just improve this a little bit by adding a bit of residential here. And I don't want this area to be too dense. So I think what we'll do is we'll use these North American row homes, and I do want them to be a bit further back. So we'll place them like that. We'll grab a one-way alley, snap in from here, and in a perfect world, we'd send this up, but it's 7.1% or 6.9%. And honestly, it's not really that bad. It's just that this is kind of an important road. It's essentially the ring road for all of Birch Heights. So I don't want to connect into this road and create any additional challenges. So instead, we will just connect into here. And now to give more walkability in this area, we might as well just extend this path just to right about here. There we go, and I think that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this little area. It's really nice to take some time, slow down, and just fill in some of the empty spots. We got this little area right here. I don't really see anything going on it, and even a path up from here is already at 9%, which probably isn't happening in real life due to accessibility concerns. So maybe we'll just have a little market back here. Then I just went through and just cleaned up some of the landscaping, just tried to improve it overall. And I think I'm pretty happy with how these empty spaces are filled out. I feel like it doesn't feel so incomplete now. Of course, we still have a few areas over here, and I think we'll leave those for a later date. Right now, I want to get to work on some of these apartment complexes in Ravenrock End. And one of the things we'll need to keep in mind is how steep this area is. In some places like this area right here, down here kind of tapers off, and then right here it's relatively flat. So I think we'll need to keep that in mind as we're going through and zoning things out. It looks like this is almost a nice little area for some water, and I think that's what I'm gonna do first. And I kind of like the idea of having the fountain close to the water, so we'll do something like that. Get rid of those fences because we don't need them. And I think I'd like to imagine this as somewhat of an older park. You know what? I think I'll just do something kind of like this right here. It's not perfect, but it should work. Then I'm going to grab this point and kind of curve around our water. And then we'll connect into that point. And ideally we could do the same thing here, but we can't. So we'll just send that kind of like that instead. I think that's pretty nice. It gives you a nice little walking path around this area. I wanted to make it feel a bit old. I don't know if I achieved that though. Now I'm going to go through and fill in some of these areas just to make sure that this land is actually developable. Is that even a word? Developable? It doesn't sound like a word. All right, and really didn't have to do all that much. Now I think what I want to do here is maybe start in this area. And if we use a one-way alley, we should be able to make something that feels, I don't know, somewhat unique and different. And I think what we'll do is we'll grab this point right here that's aligned with this path and just make a nice little curve from both roads. And I don't want this area to feel really anything like this area right here. I kind of want it to be the opposite almost. So I'm going to focus more on little apartment complexes, have them be isolated, have them all be the same building roughly in one area. So this area might have this building, another area might have this building, so on and so forth. I'll start with this building right here because it's not too big. It looks nice and I feel like it can fit really well with the area. So we'll have 3 of them right here, but I'm wondering, where are they facing? And yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to face. I like it. Great view. Now the only thing that I'm worrying about is their parking, because where are they parking right now? How many households are actually in this? And that's another thing I'll have to be careful of, because as I start going more crazier on density, our population is going to increase and things are going to start to slow down both simulation and frame-wise. So I think I need to be careful of that. But I think if I grab right here and pull this all the way through and then just come around side these buildings right here, I should be able to do something for parking that at least makes sense. And this is just really big. It takes up a lot of space. I don't see this happening. I think I could maybe see this one right here. We'll want to get rid of the fence though, and this little parking booth, maybe even this right here. Now I'll grab some European commercial and I'll place that right alongside this road. And now with this, we can move on to our next one. And I want to make sure that we're not using this road to connect in to any of these developments. I don't want to back up this road in any way possible. And actually, maybe what we'll do first is maybe we'll find a few buildings to place in here, and then we'll use that to actually figure out what our development will look like. Now the tricky part for this area is going to be again parking. So for now, I'm not even going to think about parking right here. I do want to add a bit of commercial alongside this road right here. And now I want to break up this pattern of using these alleyways and instead focus on this road right here. It still has a super amazing view, and we're not going to get too repetitive with our pattern right there. I wish they were a little bit smaller, like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 or 5 stories. I think that would be perfect. This is a bit denser than I would have liked, but we're working with the assets that we got, not the assets we want. And that color right there is pretty much perfect to me. I'd love to see something a little bit different on these buildings as well. Just a little bit of color. I think that does the trick. And now because we placed them like this, parking will honestly be so much easier. Now looking at this, I feel like we could get one more just right here. Although it's gonna worry me though, because we're kind of jam-packing this area, but honestly, I think I could definitely see it happening. And I think to serve this building, we'll come in between these 2 buildings. This will need to be a proper alley instead of just a one-way. And now we have a fair amount of space for some actual parking. And realistically, not going to serve all their needs, but that's just going to be the case of this area right here. Now for right here, I don't want to go too dense. And honestly, I don't want to go too dense in really any of this area. I still want it to be apartment buildings and apartment complexes, but just doing towers like this, or these aren't really towers, but doing larger buildings like this just doesn't always make the most sense. And so I think I'll go with the UK assets and get some of these in. I like them. This is what, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 stories. And I feel like this is a good scale for some medium density buildings. And something like that right there, I feel like looks really, really nice. And now across from our park, I want to do something similar, but I don't want to just spam the UK assets. And I think what we can do is place these across from our park, separate them by maybe 1 unit each. And I think this right here is pretty nice. Definitely not perfect. We need a little bit of parking to run through here, but overall, I'm trying to create something that feels different from this area. And why are we losing power? Okay, so we have a bottleneck. And this transformer is not enough. That makes perfect sense. Absolute perfect sense. There's no way. And I don't even think it's just this transformer alone. I think it's just the actual electricity cables underneath this road that's essentially delivering all the power to this entire area. I could fix it, but I'm not going to. I'll add another transformer station instead. To me, it feels like that's what this area would need anyways. And we already have this heavy industrial area, so. And before I place a new one, I need to think about where our high voltage power lines actually are. And it comes down here, it seems. We have one that comes down here as well. So this is probably the one we'd want to branch off of. And we actually do have a little bit of space here, but no road. And maybe right here. I think this is pretty much going to be the prime spot for one. I wonder if just this one right here is enough to make that difference. And apparently it is. Kind of surprising. And it looks like our telecom tower burnt down. Okay, so we will rebuild this. And we should have a transformer over here. Yes, we do. Can I get a quick look at all of our transformers? So one up by our industrial park, one now in Lower Birch, one over by our waste processing center along with a bit of industrial, one in our other industrial park, one down here in our farms, and then one right here as well. Honestly, we could probably use another one, but for now I'm going to let it be. And we're going to need quite a lot of parking for this area, and I feel like the absolute best way to deliver that parking is just to use one of these one-way parking alleys. And then I think in an ideal world, we'll also want to send a one-way road. Well, ideally it's two-way, but I'm going to make it one-way for the sake of this game and its complex simulations. I think if we do something kind of like that, it'll need a bit of love, so we'll push it over. Try and get in the middle of these buildings. And then I think we'll just offset these buildings a little bit more. That way we can continue this road all the way down. And now we have these two lots right here where we start to go up a hill a bit and then back down. There's a few row home assets that I think would be perfect for this. And really it was just between these two. So this one right here versus this one. I'm gonna go with this one because it only has 2 households and this one right here has 3. Doesn't seem like a big difference, but in terms of simulation, it definitely can be. And I think I'll stack these by 3. And now I think I'll break up some of these lots with our one-way. It just almost works. Yeah, we'll do it. And then this should allow us to add in a good amount of parking. So I think if we do something like that, we should be able to get away with it. Yeah, I think it works. And then we're just going to terrace this, so we'll level out from this road down to here, so on and so forth. We'll add in our parking. And yeah, it's not perfect. You know what? I'm wondering how many parking spots are these actually giving? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one is 6, but these ones can easily be replaced. Okay, and aside from this retaining wall that looks a little bit ridiculous, I think everything looks pretty good. Now on the opposite side, I'm going to do the exact same thing, just with the North American Residential 01 instead. Okay, and that's pretty much it. I decided to do something a little bit different because the slope wasn't so bad, I didn't really want a terrace, and I did this instead, which kind of changes the look from these two areas, and I like that. I like that a lot. Honestly, what was I even thinking about placing a crematorium, a medical clinic, a police station? I kind of made this like a little service station, service area, but really this is some pretty valuable land aside from what's going on right here. I believe these were the mountains, the Ashland mountains, and that's gonna kind of get on my nerves a bit, so I'm gonna pull that back. Yeah, I think this could be a really cool park area, but at the same time, I feel like it would be developed. So I think I'm gonna go with my gut feeling and just make a park instead. And honestly, it's pretty steep. It doesn't look like it is, but there is a pretty big difference from this area to this area by about 8%, which is a bit rough. There's also a little bit of jank going on there, but I think we can ignore it. So what I want to do is maybe make this an elevated, and we can have this go over this path underneath. I think what would make this look even cooler is if we could somehow have a bunch of water here. I think that would pretty much take this to the next level, which is what I'd love to do if water wasn't so tricky. And don't get me wrong, I love these surfaces. It's just I'd like to see a little bit of water flowing through here instead of more stagnant. Now we need to clean this up a bit because it is a bit rough. Okay, and it seems like just pulling this little section right here, just pulling it back a bit, actually cleaned it up a fair amount. And yeah, that's unfortunately very, very, very rough looking. So I think we'll need to cover this up. Once we had a bit of trees, maybe a few bushes, I can live with that. Let's just grab a birch and we'll toss it right here. There we go. Yeah, I think that's not that bad. It could be worse. It could definitely be worse. And I think what I'll actually do instead, and I'm not 100% sold on this yet, is this could actually be converted into one of these ditches. And I think if you pull it all the way down, it'll give this area quite a unique look. Now, ideally, we probably wouldn't want people walking in this area because it's a ditch, but I think I'm going to keep it in. I really think I'm going to keep it in, unless someone tells me why I shouldn't. And until detailing, I think that's how we'll leave this park off. It didn't actually end up being a park. I think it ended up being something a bit cooler once we actually get the detailing done, of course, but for now, yeah, I think we'll leave it there. And now we have this little section right here, and I think what I'll do is the row home development, but I do want this to be different, and I think the way I'm going to accomplish this is to first pick one of these assets, and I think I will use this one now, but I'm only going to use the level 1, because I think the only difference between level 1 and level 2 is the amount of households. Yeah, so level 2 has one more household. Now I'm going to place these all along here, and it's really just to guide where my road is going to go, and I want 1 unit of separation between this road and this building. So we'll grab our one way, and then we'll also want 4 units on this side as well. There we go. Now that should give us our 4 units of separation. Then we'll send the alleyway down to here and we'll end it. We'll do the same thing right here as well. We can't get as close, so we'll turn zoning cell length off, and then we'll end that one. And now I'm just gonna place these all along the inside. Now we will need some form of parking because right now they'd have to park on the street or they'd have to park essentially nowhere. So let's get rid of these and maybe even these. And there we go. That's going to be that area done. And now we just have this giant plot right here that we need to work with. And I kind of regret placing all this stuff near here, because to me it only makes sense if there's a bit more density alongside this area rather than just going more row home focused. And I think we'll need to add that in if we want to make this make sense. Just given all the stuff here, it's either that or we just spam row homes or spam low density. And I could maybe see some low density being here. I would be a bit worried that the value of those low density homes wouldn't be high enough due to the police station, but the medical clinic would probably cover for that. And not to say that the police station would lower value, more so that they're noisy. So again, I'm going to use a one-way alley and just send it directly into here. And honestly, I'm tempted to actually just match this connection right here, because I feel like this would make a lot more sense for the ambulances, Maybe not so much for residential development, but for the ambulances, definitely. So what I'll do is I'll split these in half. We're gonna fix our zoning a bit. So we're gonna remove it from that road and we're gonna add it back into this road. And it also needs to be removed from these little side angles. And what that gives us is 2 depth on both sides, which is exactly what we need. And I think we're gonna grab our waterfront housing and just place that alongside here. But before we allow it to fill in, we're gonna add a bit of separation between some of these buildings. And right here as well, because I can see that there's gonna be some jank due to the elevation. Now we have that path running through there. I think that's a big improvement. And I don't know how I didn't see this one either. This will be a bit of a tough one, but I think if we just do something absolutely awful, we can probably make it work. I think this one's gonna be a stretch. Yeah, that won't work. We could probably add in an invisible path. Yeah, we can. And we'll probably do the same thing over here. We'll add in just an invisible path. And right here, we didn't have a full 4 units, so we just went 3 depth, which I think is fine. And now I think right here, we're gonna do something similar to what we did over here. And we're just gonna place some of these UK assets in. And it'll be another one of those cases where we just don't have enough parking, but we're gonna live with it. And as we get closer to down here, I was gonna increase our density a bit, but I think maybe instead we'll make this more walkable, more of a park type area, and we'll end that park type area kind of around here. That way this actually feels a little bit friendly to pedestrians and like there's actually things to do here. And honestly, I'd love to get these as close as I can to this quay wall. I'm not sure how much it's gonna like me if I try though, but I am gonna try. And this asset does have parking, and it seems to be in the back, which isn't a big deal. We can still make that work. And the reason we're gonna make that work is because I would rather run a pedestrian road alongside here, kind of like that. And then we just need to connect this in. Now our grid is gonna be all over the place, but let's try and make this work. So we'll add 1 there, and let's see, which way do we wanna turn them? Honestly, I think we could turn these ones that way, just so they have a nice view of all the stuff over here. And I think as long as we do something kind of like that, it should work. Of course, we have to fix this little connection right here because right now it's broken. And I think I'll go with something kind of like that right there. I think that looks really, really nice. I actually really like the red color. I also love how it matches kind of what's going on over here. If we wanted to, we could take this color and match this one as well. But I think these 3 together as all reds just looks really, really nice. And I believe this building has its parking. Yes, it does. So we're gonna get rid of these hedges and we're actually gonna extend this little parking lot area. I know for a fact that these buildings do not have even close to enough parking. In fact, I feel like the parking that is given to these buildings is just way too little for what the building actually needs. And with a little bit of luck, I think that should work right there. And I'm hoping it does. I'm not seeing any icons pop up. And if that's the case, we can just go in and extend every single one of these. Okay, and I did a pretty bad job with the invisible paths, but I'm hoping it works. We should be able to see someone park in here eventually, and that'll give us an idea of whether or not it's actually working. It seems like the only one I can really click on is this one right here. So I'm gonna wait a second and see if anyone parks. Okay, and that was literally a second. Yes, it does work. Everything's looking good. Now, aside from the park that'll go here, all that's left is this little plot of land right here. And it seems to be slightly raised, so I'm just gonna fix that. And because I think I'd like to see somewhat of a more centralized shopping center here, I'm gonna only use this asset. For now, I'm gonna place it right here. And then from each side, I'm gonna go out about 3 units. I feel like that should be enough space to not have to worry about a conflict here and a conflict here. And then I'll send this up right to the back of the building, which will be the front once we turn it around. And we'll just connect all of this in. And now we should be good just to place all of these alongside here. And we're just so close to having enough room, just so close. So instead, I'm just gonna pull these all the way over and we'll do something like that right there. And then for parking, we're just gonna use our perpendicular one way and we'll go somewhere right about in the middle. All right, now we have all the businesses filled in. What do we got? We got electronics, which is called Wingbacks. I don't get it. Rumel, they sell vehicles. Another vehicle store, which is unfortunate. And another one. How can our demand for vehicles be that high? So surprise, surprise, we have no demand for vehicles. Oh wait, it was just here. It was just here a second ago. Now it's gone again. I was gonna say not really a surprise considering we have 3 vehicle stores right here. I'm confused on where the actual vehicles being sold, where are they stored? Maybe this is some type of rent-a-car place. Oh wait, they've changed already. So this one's chemicals, this one is vehicles, and this one's textiles. Okay, that's actually really nice to see. I'm glad they changed. I'm starting to see that our leisure production capacity is creeping up significantly, which is probably impacting our demand. A while back, I had to go through and delete all of our leisure, and this was before any of this existed, I'm pretty sure. And so that's why this right here is gone, and this, if you're ever wondering, all these empty spots were leisure buildings that just had to be deleted because the leisure production capacity was killing our demand. And I find that happens a lot. So if you ever get too high, I think we were at roughly like 5,000 or 6,000% if I had to guess. If you get that high, your demand will drop and go down. And it won't come back up until you bring all your leisure down. It's the same thing with your standard demand as well. And I imagine if I went through and deleted most of our leisure, our demand would come back up. And this to me seems to be some sort of bug related to leisure. I don't know if it's due to the commercial or the leisure venue packs, but there seems to be something going on that I just don't entirely understand. Either way, this color is awful. I don't want it to be brown. I think something like that can definitely feel like a little shopping center. And then during detailing, we'll go through and we'll clean this up to make it feel a bit more cohesive. I'm thinking we might as well connect in this alleyway into this road as well. All right, and now we have a big old park space to make. And I think for this park space, I'd like to do 2 main things. But first, we'll need to do a bit of terraforming or landscaping because I want to pull this all the way back. Then I'm going to place this here right now as some sort of guide, because what we'll do is we'll grab the back of this building, so we'll snap onto the sides of buildings, and I want this to be on this level right here, so I think we'll need to pull this back even a bit further. So we'll do something like that, and then we'll add our key wall onto this road right here, or this pedestrian path. And now I'm going to grab this and send it all the way down right to there. And we'll do the same thing here, but we're going to curve as we get to this grade. We'll swap back to straight and connect into there, and we'll add our key wall all alongside this one as well. Now we need to connect this into somewhere, and I was tempted to go directly into here or directly into our main arterial, and I think we can do a bit of both. So we'll start there, and we can use this to break our node, and then we should be able to just use constant slope and essentially slope all the way down, and there we go. And we could probably send this all the way down too. It's negative 5.9%. For accessibility, that's probably a bit rough, but I think we can make it work. And now I need to fight with this so I can get it to be an actual key wall. And now we have the rough layout for our park. So it'll primarily be on this level right here, which makes me think that now we could definitely add some zoning up here. Now right in this corner, I feel like this park asset's actually gonna work pretty well. As long as we get it on the right angle, kind of like that right there. And it seems like we could just barely get this one in. I'm kind of surprised. I didn't actually expect it to work. There's a few things missing, but overall, I think it does work. And part of me is tempted to just carry this down for almost the entire thing. Or maybe what we'll do is something kind of like this, and then we'll get something in the middle here. And I didn't really leave all that much room to get anything crazy in. I can't even get this circle in. And really, if I want it to actually function like a park, the only thing I can really get in is another one of these small parks. And it does give us our boost, and it actually does function. So I guess we'll just throw another one of these in. We'll have to make this a little bit more interesting during the detailing section. And now we'll probably just want another connection through here somewhere. And I think maybe we could do that right here, as long as we go underground. So we'll snap this little node right here, and we'll turn it into an elevated segment. I don't know if we're gonna have enough room, but we'll try. Yeah, that's definitely not enough room. Definitely not. What if we pull it back a bit more? Yeah, if you want to smash your head. So to get one more connection in here, I think what we're gonna have to do is start from right about here And we're gonna have to increase our height pretty quickly. Yeah, we're gonna have to break realism here if we wanna do this. I believe something like that should be tall enough. Let's see if this guy bonks his head off of it. I can't go any lower to the ground to see, but it kind of seems like he is bonking his head, or just barely clearing it. So we'll give this a slight lift up. There. Now they're clearing it without a problem. And now we need to do a decrease. Let's try and drop this down to something reasonable. 5% I'm okay with, and let's go down even further. 14.9% is a bit rough. I don't think I see another way to get this in though. It's honestly not all that bad. It's not all that great, but I don't think it's all that bad either. That right there gives us roughly negative 5.8. And then we can come from this side as well and drop down to about negative 5.9. And then we'll just do a gentle curve into this. I wish it wouldn't break that connection. I'm gonna try doing that and then just adding the connection back in, and yeah, that works. And in no means is this perfect or even close to perfect, but I think I can take it. It kind of feels like it's spaghetti. No, I can't do this. I can't. It's so bad. Okay, now that's looking pretty rough, but I think it's much, much better than the spaghetti that was going on before. It's roughly negative 5 to negative 6%, which I know for accessibility wouldn't be ideal, but it's the only way we can get this in. So I'm gonna live with it. I think all that this area needs is a bunch of detailing for sure, a bunch of detailing, but maybe just a little bit more development right alongside here. Okay, and that's pretty much it for zoning. I added in the Japan medium density housing buildings alongside here, smashed these ones together, made them red. These ones just left them solo, made them blue. Right here I was struggling. I didn't know what to put here. I wanted it to be just a bit different, and I ended up going with these. The only thing I don't like is that the colors can't be more matched. I really like that brown type of color that it has on these side pieces, but it seems to be a bit difficult to get them on here. You can kind of get something like it, but it doesn't really look all that good. As always with these buildings, they have a big white kind of wall just staring at you. I wish these were double-sided, so instead of being like 2 units wide or however wide it is, just take this and flip it onto this side. I feel like that would be really, really nice. I mean, maybe will it connect? It'll just almost connect. If we did something like that. Doesn't like the pedestrian path, but we have to pull it in a bit closer anyways. I feel like that's at least a little bit better than what it was before. We won't be able to do that on this side though, because there isn't the road to actually connect it into, unless we force the road connection, which starts to get crazy when we have this path right here that has a key wall, because everything will start breaking. And I don't think I have the static ploppables downloaded for this. Maybe I do though. No, it doesn't seem like I do. So for now, I'm just gonna place some of these on here. I think that should really help. It'll cover up some of the weirdness going on. I'll do the same thing over here. And something like that I feel works pretty well. I missed that spot, but I'll just quickly put it on. And yeah, I think that works. Makes it feel a little less giant wall staring at nothing essentially. We've added 1,600 households, roughly about 3,000 residents, and it'll definitely climb and get a bit higher. All right, now we're pretty much done all our zoning. I don't really think there's anywhere else that we can fill in. I mean, maybe if we tried, maybe if we squeezed a bit. But for detailing, I want to connect all of these areas in. That way it's actually walkable, instead of just having to walk all the way around. In real life, you would just walk from here to here. I don't think anyone would be that crazy to walk all the way around, but in the game, they can't, so we'll make sure they can. We'll go through, we'll add a little bit of parking if we can, and really just get this area feeling nice and like it deserves to be on the waterfront. All right, let's jump in. All right, then over here in Willow Springs, which contains all of our malls and all of our shops, and of course, not enough customers pops up as I come over here. Why wouldn't it, right? We got a name suggestion from this comment right here, and we're just gonna tweak it just the slightest bit to be the Willow Mall. And then this comment right here suggested that we added in a few pedestrian paths throughout the new forest areas. There's quite a few of them. So I'm gonna assume you're talking about this one right here, which is kind of the mall area, because the rest of them are cut off a bit. Although I could see doing something of a park here. Could we get a path to go underneath here without bonking someone's head? And I definitely think we could. So maybe we can do a park here, or even here, or even here. It's really up to what everyone thinks. So for the meantime, I'm gonna assume you're talking about this one right here, and I'll add in a few. I'll try and keep the slopes reasonable. All right, there we go. I actually really like that a lot more. I don't know why I didn't think to add in paths. It makes this almost kind of feel like a nature mall. No, that doesn't exist. Never mind. I'm gonna stop talking before I say something silly. Nature mall. And then we don't have really any transit here. Does our tram even stop? So our tram makes one stop here, and this is the stop that goes from our harbor all the way to roughly our kind of downtown, and then does that little loop right there. So what I think I'll do is we'll have the stop right here, and then we'll also have a stop alongside this road as well. And I think I'll put it closer to this edge because we're gonna need a walkway, or better yet, a crosswalk. Then we can take this current route and just make it stop here. And I think we might as well make this bi-directional. And that's not exactly the most ideal transit, but we're gonna have a very big episode soon on transit, which isn't an excuse. It's definitely not an excuse, I promise. I just don't wanna have to rework every small thing. Here's kind of a rough overview of our transit right now. Of course, I don't think this menu does it justice. There's the Carto maps that I've been exporting and adding onto Patreon. So you can check them out there and it'll be a lot better. And I'll make sure to do it for this episode as well. That way everyone can see the transit, because I'm definitely gonna need some help on that one. But yeah, so I'm gonna call it for transit right there. That's all I'm gonna do. In the future, we will revisit everything, and we're gonna get transit sorted all throughout Ashland, and ideally add in a bit of subways alongside one of these roads. Now, I will check to make sure we have all of our services here. So we have our recycling center, our high school, our medical clinic, our post office, our police station, our crematorium, our fire station, our medical center, our post office, and our landfill. There's nothing that I think we're missing. I will add in a few mailboxes though, because right now we have none. We'll center a few around this park because it's public space. Now with all of that done, let's hop into a quick before and after. And that is a wrap. Really sorry this one took so long. Ever since we hit around 100,000 in population, I've noticed a bit of a micro stutter. It happens every now and then and it drives me crazy, especially because I have somewhat of a decent computer. Doing some research and it seems like I'm not the only one, but even my temps are solid. At 100% usage, my max is around 79 degrees, which isn't bad at all. That's also why I tried to keep detailing light this episode. I'm saving up to swap over to AM5, and I'm hoping that'll get everything running smooth again. Either way, I'm gonna stop ranting now, and instead, I'm gonna give a super big shout out to our amazing Patreon members, Jake Hill, Gary Key, Deku, Ganger, Griffin, The Alpha Supreme, and Javante Mormon. If you wanna help support the channel, check out Ashland for yourself, or just see some sneak peeks, head over to Patreon. If you haven't already, a like, comment, and subscription really go a long way, and other than that, I'll see you in the next one.